Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we are back with another brand new video. Today's a video, I'll just be honest right off the bat, I'm happy there is a today's video because it's been far too long now that me and thee got to sit right here on this channel and talk about Rangers things, because what's it been, 5 days since we've done that? Too long, nation. I hope you're all doing well, because I'm about to be, ladies and gentlemen, because it's got to the stage now that I was craving Rangers things that badly. I'm actually licking my lips in anticipation, waiting and hoping and praying that it was time to go and watch Rangers play on a plastic surface of the Toni macaroni. That's how badly I've missed it. But before we go any further on with today's video, as it has been 4 or 5 days since the last upload, just a friendly wee reminder in case you are new around here, or even if you're a regular viewer, like 51.8% of a regular audience that tunes in to every video that hasn't hit the subscribe button. If you can hit that subscribe button, it's free, doesn't cost you a penny, and it just helps all of us on our way to try and close that gap to the channel dream, which is 55 frickin' K. Now though, as it has been too long, let's get back to business then, shall we? And starting off with the old oppositional preview, let's have a look at this Livingston side who, coming into this game of football, are coming in here with heartbreak as they just lost a cup final 1-0 at the weekend. And when you think about it, we genuinely couldn't have started in any other place than that cup final run for Livingston Football Club, because just making it to the cup final in itself was an achievement for this squad, and it was a reward for all the hard work and effort that not only the players put in, but so did the gaffer Martindale as well, that despite every success that he's already had in his short stint as manager of Livingston, they keep wanting to bring up the past, they keep wanting to slap this guy down, they keep wanting to put him in this box and just keep him limited to that. And for me, that is utter bollocks. He is a football manager and he should be treated the exact same as everyone else, because if we take a step back and we just look at what he's achieved already in that short stint at Livingston, it's been brilliant, and that for me is what should be actually getting spoke about every time this guy goes in front of a mic. Know his mistakes that he made in the past. Now, I know the previews don't get as much reaction and interaction as the normal recaps and stuff like that, but for the people that tune in and watch, hopefully you realise I do try and put a lot of effort into these videos, and I like to try and dive deep into the team, see how they're setting up, see how they're playing. I try and watch as much as I can for these previews. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed looking into this Livingston side now under Martindale is the difference in the way they operate, because I'll be honest with you, it was always a bit of an eye bleed to actually go in and look at Livingston play under Gary Holt to preview, not only for us to eventually go on and play and see it and being so negative and being bored to tears 90% of the games, but having to dive in and watch numerous games and see them play that was always hard. But that's flipped now, and that for me is one of the biggest differences that I think we're going to have in this game tomorrow, because this won't be a traditional trip to the Toni macaroni with 10 people behind the ball hitting long balls hoping and praying for a 0-0. No, that's not the case anymore. Now, didn't get me wrong, the defensive discipline is still there, and I think a lot of that goes down to the personnel that's still there. You're looking at Big Bartley, who seems to be a real on-field leader for the team. That's still there, and they are still defensively solid for the majority of the time, I should say. But where they have tweaked and what they have changed is the aggressiveness in which they go forward, not only in hunting and pressing, because let's be honest, all the games that we've played ever at the Toni macaroni, did they ever come near the halfway line to press us with a football? I genuinely can't think of one occasion. But now they do that. They like to get stuck in, they like to press higher up the park. But when they do win the football, it's not just falling there hoping to win a set piece or hitting a long ball to chew a bit of clock. It's actually committing people forward, having runners with the ball and trying to get the ball in the opposition box to make things happen. And that is the biggest difference that Livingston will have in this game of football. Under Martindale, they're not only defensively sound, but they go forward and they've got that aggressiveness and bit between their teeth to try and make things happen. Now, for the many years that me and you have been on this journey on this channel, I've sat here and said like the St Mirrens and stuff that they try and play football, they're building teams up, but I didn't think they're going to actually play that way when Rangers comes to town. That's usually the way these types of videos goes, but I can't say that for Livingston under Martindale, because the only examples that we've had so far is the games versus Celtic, and that's usually a good indication of how teams are going to line up against us because it's very similar in how they go about it. But Martindale didn't change his tactics, didn't change his style. He played the exact same way versus Celtic as he did versus Hamilton, and that's piling people forward and that's committing numbers, and it took Celtic by surprise. Hell, at the Toni macaroni, it did finish 2-2 in the game of football, but despite Livingston having the backups of the backups in because they were resting their players ahead of a semi-final versus Hibs, the backup Livingston team, with the style and the way that they commit people forward, took Celtic all the way in the game to a point, ending 2-2 in a game where Celtic relied on a goal that was 2 yards offside to get them back into it, and a clear penalty kick for Livingston in the last kick of the football that was somehow ignored by a penalty, or the reserves of Livingston were a bit Celtic at the Toni macaroni under Martindale. Now, some people might look at that result and say, aye, that was just a lucky one-off game, but for me that's a disservice to the way Livingston set up, and it's that style of play that I think gets them a lot of points, and it's one of the main reasons why they went on that fantastic run. It wasn't necessarily the individual players, because there was occasions they were swapping and changing their quote-unquote best players, but that defending deep, then springing forward with a counter-attack, committing people forward, just seemed to suffocate teams, and that is why they went on that fantastic 13-match unbeaten run, which was only second to us, by the way, just a couple of weeks ago in terms of the best team on form in the top flight of Scottish football. It was Rangers, then it was Livingston. But, unfortunately, there is a but, because that fairytale run, almost fairytale-esque, that they were on since Martindale came into the job, leading them to a cup final, we saw the result. They ended up losing it, and that was a wee stark reminder that only Hollywood scripted football moments happens when your name's Nathan frickin' Patterson. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. And I think if you look at Livingston, not only with the cup final, but the recent run, which not many people are talking about, the run recently isn't great, as they're without a win in the last 4 matches in all competitions, including their most recent game, which was obviously the cup final loss. Now, during that new run, by the way, which leads us into this game versus Rangers, that does feature back-to-back league losses, one of them being a 2-1 loss to eventual cup winners St Johnstone. They beat them in the league, but it followed that up with a 3-0 loss to Dundee United in a game of football where Livingston still had 13 shots and 9 on target. But where in the past, and a couple of weeks ago, everything was going in and everything was working, that was a wee stark reminder that things can change very quickly in football, and they didn't have that wee bit of maybe luck or when everything was going your way, because they just got steamrolled 3-0 eventually, despite having chance after chance after chance. And their only non-loss, by the way, in the 4-game spell that leads into this one was a 1-1 draw versus St Mirren, where honestly I have no idea how they managed to get a draw for that game, because St Mirren took them to task and battered them the entire game. And I just think if you take all that into consideration, you look at this Livingston team, if that cup final happened 5-6 weeks ago, I have no doubt this Livingston team would have ended up winning and lifting that trophy. But things can change in football so damn quickly, and it shows that where everything was going well and positive, it's now started to flip, and they're starting to go on a new run of form, and that for me is going to be very interesting to see how they respond to that all season long. And regarding our game, how will they reflect and come in to this game? Will they come in wounded, feeling sorry for themselves because they didn't lift the trophy, or are they going to come in pissed off, angry because they didn't get the fairy tale ending that they all probably deserved after that fantastic run? I think we all know which one I want to see tomorrow, but again, it is going to be interesting. The only thing I will say though is, looking into this team recently and not getting lost in the hype and the storylines and everything that's been happening, I'm going to sit here and say the exact same thing I said for the Dundee United preview, who at their own time was on a fantastic run. If we can get an early goal versus Dundee United, I think Livingston may just unravel, because that's been the story of them recently. So I'll be honest, I'm hoping we are going to be back to our ruthless best tomorrow versus Livingston, licking our lips at this wounded animal that's in front of us. And despite how heartless that is, ladies and gentlemen, that is now time to flip over and talk about what matters most to all of us here, and that is of course Rangers. And diving into the Rangers side of today's video, a lot has been said regarding this month and how big of a month this can be, and that was one of the main things that was talked about during this week's press conference to Steven Gerrard. But honestly, if you haven't seen this, please click the link in the description, go ahead and watch, just for this one question or one answer alone, because what he does here is majestic, people, because the media again continue to ask, how important is this month? Is the players feeling the pressure of the most important month? Blah 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 blah. But Gerrard flipped it and just went on a fantastic little paragraph where he went to say, well, we went into this season with the start having to be vital, then after our good start we had to keep that up, that was vital. Then he had everyone telling him that December was the most important part of the season because there was fixtures coming thick and fast. Then after they got through December, everyone looked at January and said, well, there's Aberdeen away, there's Hibs away, and there's the Old Firm. That is the most important month. But then once they got through that, they says, well, it's important now, and it's most important February being, because we now have to keep that up and keep on winning. And now we've reached March and it's the exact same thing from the media, and that right there for me is majestic at its highest level, in my opinion, because what that does is not only is it a funny answer and a good answer for the media, but it also takes all their pressure away and deflects everything back on them, because any players that sit and listening to that or even starting to feel the hype will say, aye, right enough, that has been us all season long. And that's just utter control in the press conference from Steven Gerrard. He used to control games of football, now he's sitting here doing the football equivalent of a 40-yarder to the top bins here in the media by flipping their own questions and potential pressure right back at them and saying, hell, we've had pressure all season, the players have done their job. Sheer class, in my opinion, from the gaffer, and it backs up something we've talked about many times here on the channel. It is the next game mentality, and every game's had its own difficult pressure, and the players and the mentality is something that was heavily praised during this week's press conference as well by Steven Gerrard, to saying they've still got the same intensity now in training as they did in the first day of the season. And I truly believe that, because we've seen what this team's been able to do, almost robotic-like on a game by game basis. No matter the noise from elsewhere and what's been going wrong, they've had the same approach and mindset. And that for me, I know it's boring to some of you guys and it's not a sexy thing to talk about, but that one game at a time mentality that's been drilled from the gaffer all the way down at every single level, for me, has been one of the major reasons we are where we are right now with what's lying in front of us. Unfortunately now though, the smiles and the praise of Steven Gerrard and that has to be halted just for a brief seconds, because we obviously got more bad news regarding the right back spot, which was already, by the way, on its knees and vulnerable. Well, Steven Gerrard confirmed that Leon Balogun is a big doubt for the game tomorrow, because he's still struggling with the niggle that he got last week in the European game that actually forced him off at half time. Now again, we never know if he is officially ruled out, because Gerrard has said there's players been doubts for a game, then they've turned up and ended up starting. Kamaru being one of the many reminders of that all season long. But if Big Balogun can't pull through and can't play tomorrow, that does leave us without Balogun, without Tav, and without Jack regarding right back cover. That leaves us pretty much bare. However, there is one player that is left, and you're talking about redemptions, you talk about everything. This guy still hasn't been banned from the SFA, and I don't know if the boy's using witchcraft or whatever, but the door has opened. He sat there like Bruce Almighty, moving the cars out the way, and Nathan Patterson now has another opportunity and another chance, as it looks like the heavens have opened for the boy to start tomorrow versus Livingston. Now, I've just went ahead and said all that, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me if the SFA now fast-tracked the ban and maybe banned them 10 minutes before kick-off versus Livingston. Honestly, that wouldn't even surprise me, ladies and gentlemen. But as far as I'm recording right now, and as everything that's been said as I'm recording right now, Nathan Patterson is clear to play tomorrow, and it looks as if he is definitely in there. Which, I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, despite being a young laddie and stuff like that, if you can play anything like he can do on Thursday night, I don't think there's any worry at all. If he can take the level and the intensity he playing at the highest level that we can currently play into this game tomorrow, I think he could be in for another world of a performance. If he can bring that pace and he can bring that quality that he had, I don't think we've got anything to worry about. The only thing I would worry about is if anything happened to him, God forbid, there is literally nobody that can play right. I'll probably be playing, which would be a disaster, ladies and gentlemen, because I've not been staying fit. I'm still working on my before fit picture. But all joking and all that to one side, regarding the rest of the team availability, we've obviously without Kamar Roof, who was suspended, but he's also injured, so there's kind of two birds, one stone, and he joins Ryan, Jack and Tavernier, who all three of them are still expected to be back within the same time period of 2 frickin' weeks. The rest of the team, all good to go, apart from our big man Katic, who again, Steven Gerrard has decided to be patient with and not bring him back because of the severity of the serious injury that he had. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's been the oppositional preview, and that's been the Rangers conversation, and that's been the latest injury / suspension / team news. There's not too much for me to add in this game. It kind of feels like we all know where we stand coming into this game. We all know what's needed. We all know what's expected. Now it's time for the players to go out there and do what they've been doing all season long. Before we wrap up today's video though, there is one last thing we need today, and that's trying to predict the unpredictable, especially on that surface at the Toni macaroni. I don't think I've ever got one right, which is probably, to be fair, to ever get anything right? I don't know. Anyway, I'm feeling confident about this one though, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to go with a cheeky Rangers 2, Livingston 0, which may be a surprise given how I've talked up the fixture, but I think a strong, composed 2-0 win for Rangers will do the job, and I think my goal scorer is going to be none other than Alfredo Morelos, because if he keeps this form up right here, I don't know what else I can say about the laddie. And I think the other goal is going to come from our man on the left-hand side by the name of Ryan frickin' Kent. I know that you've heard my probably wrong prediction. Hopefully by now you've got involved down there in the comment section below, and if you have done, I will be speaking to you very shortly down there in the comment section below. But before we wrap up today's video, I want to talk about one other thing that happened in the press conference, and I just thought it was really poor taste. Maybe this is just me, but obviously there was a question asked to Steven Gerrard for his thoughts and reactions to the terrible news of Ian St John's passing. He was obviously a legend for not only Scotland but for Liverpool as well. And Steven Gerrard hadn't heard this news, because as the press conference was happening, the news broken, it was asked to him, and I just thought the manner of it was absolutely vile, because they knew Gerrard hadn't heard the news, and he just wanted to be I'm the first one to tell him. And you could see by Gerrard's reaction the pain and everything there. For me, that's absolutely disgusting. So instead of going down that route, I just want to actually end today by paying my utmost respects to the family and everyone involved, because you could see by the outpouring on social media, and you could see by Steven Gerrard's face what impact that man had on his life. So to wrap up today's video, again, I just want to give my best wishes and my condolences to the Ian St John family. What an absolute legend, and rest in peace, big man. And for everyone who's still watching today's video, thank you so much for taking time out your day to sit here and talk about Rangers things with me. I'll see you tomorrow after the game. Take care of yourselves, thank you, and bye-bye.